No, we don't help with formula at all. Have you talked to anybody like at CCC?
Yeah, I've been calling everywhere all day.
We really don't have an estimated time just because we do receive a lot of requests here. Each applicant is different. It could take a couple of days. It could take a couple of weeks. We really just don't have a time frame there.
Okay, you said it would take a couple of days to weeks?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, if approved.
Today, we will hear passionate discussions from people talking about women who called several churches around the country to see if the churches will give woman baby formula for baby. Check it out.
And if anybody attend any of those churches that their lady have been calling down there in Louisiana, acting like she got a baby that just needs some milk, out of 20 churches, 17 of them said that's not her problem. If y'all attend any of them churches, last Sunday should have been your last Sunday, because people are donating to churches, but it's churches donating to people. Is they really doing God's work, or they doing what they want to do with the money? Because out of 20 churches, only 17 of them said that they couldn't help that woman. Now that is pathetic. All these people that go to churches with kids and that's pregnant and all of this, they ain't said, let me reach out to somebody and see, do they got an extra can of milk or anything? They said, this is not our problem. So if you attend any of them churches, any one of those 17 churches, last Sunday should have been your last Sunday. Thank you.
Okay, so I've been calling your churches to test to see if they would help feed a starving baby.
That woman is quite literally doing the Lord's work. If you're not familiar with her and she hasn't been showing up on your feed, that's Nikaylee. She's doing this whole social experiment, but the people on the other end of the line, they don't know it's not real. And she has been calling Christian churches and being like, I have a baby. She doesn't have a baby. And I ran out of formula last night, and she has a sound of a baby crying in the background. And she's like, I ran out of formula last night and I really need some formula. Would you all be able to help? I think she's called like 26 Christian churches. And out of the 26 Christian churches, so-called Christian churches that she's called, like 23 have said, no, they can't help your starving baby. I have long said that if Christ were to return for the second coming, that these so-called Christians would crucify him immediately. Now, there was one call that she did that was not a Christian church. It was a mosque. And this is what happened.
Make him a baby.
Islamic Center of Charlotte, overlooking.
Hi, yes. I was trying to call. I have a 2-month-old baby, and I ran out of formula last night, and I was wanting to see if there's any way you all could help with a can of baby formula.
We can, ma'am. Where do you live? Do you live in Charlotte?
Yes, I'm like 10 minutes from you all.
Okay. And what kind of formula are you using?
It's the Good Start.
Good Start. Yeah, that's fine, ma'am. If you come over here, we'll help you.
Interesting that the scary Muslim people immediately asked, where are you? What do you need? Literally, Nikaylee is doing the Lord's work. Because at the very least, I'm hoping that these Christian churches that she's putting on blast, I hope that the people who go to these churches see her TikToks and are like, what the fuck? And then maybe they'll actually help the community. Yeah, great job, Nikaylee.
She should call the Eagles Hall. She should call the bar down the street and watch how fast she will get $32 for a can of formula. Because all those sinners will make sure a baby doesn't go hungry, right? Right.
All right. Let me say that again, baby. See, that's why I am no longer a part of the church. Because literally, they are playing in your face. It's been damn near 20 years since I paid a tithe and an offering. Let me tell you why. I remember when I was going through a little slow season as an entrepreneur in my business. Now, I've always paid tithes. I've been the part of 2 churches. All right? And when you are a part of a church, when you give your membership, you give your commitment to giving your tithes and your offerings and anything the pastor asks you. So all my motherfucking life, bitch, I've been paying tithes and offerings. But I got kind of slow one season of my life, and I needed about $356 to pay a light bill. And the church said to me, well, Sister Nikki, we need you to write a letter on why you got behind. And as I was writing that letter, I was in my 20s and I had a little baby. And as I was writing that letter, the Spirit said to me, as I was writing that letter, it was the divine saying to me, as I was writing that letter, I realized that had I withheld the bill money that I needed, let's be clear, and paid the motherfucking bill, let's be very clear, I wouldn't even need to ask nobody in the building for the motherfucking money. Let me tell you what I'm trying to tell you. Critical thinking skills will show you every motherfucking time. If you need money and you barely making it, you are giving to a man and his business, huh? While taking away from you paying for your bills and handling your business.
Living Faith Church, the church that wouldn't help the starving babies, Google reviews have gone to hell. They were at 4.7 before the controversy, but now they're sitting at 1.4 and going lower by the minute. It's no wonder they wouldn't help a starving baby because apparently they've had it out for children for a while. Look at this review placed 3 years ago before the controversy. Watch your kids in the children's program because my child came home and told me he and another student were strangled in the back of the neck by an employee, and the Christians over the program tried to cover it up. Whoa. And then 2 years ago, someone said, quote, this evil church abuses children and does not respect the U.S. Constitution. 4 years ago, somebody said too many screens and not enough devotion. And as for the current controversy, apparently a lot of members are furious. One person says, quote, so you mean to tell me with all the money collected from us every Sunday, you couldn't help Erica with something as simple as baby formula or diapers? Yet you all just went on vacation? That's unbelievable. I'm honestly heartbroken and disappointed. I will never set foot in that church again. Absolutely disgusting. You can bet that the church leadership is scrambling to respond to this from Sunday because they're over 5 million views. And you know that they're going to call this an attack from the enemy instead of admitting that they're the enemy themselves. Living faith for your callous faith and refusing to help a crying baby?
I'm not Christian, but I'm all up in y'all business. Y'all mean to tell me that y'all pastors, preachers, these mega churches have private planes, Rolexes, Bentley? You all give tithes to said institution. Young moolah, baby. And they won't give mothers formula? I'm actually confused because, silly question, where do the tithes go? And where'd the Bentley and the 7-bedroom house come from? Because that sounds like the government. We pay them taxes. They take that money and move it every which way that they feel like. And when we need it, do you see where I'm getting at? Nothing of that is godly.
One thing I do know is watching this experiment and that woman call all these churches and mosques and I'm still trying to get my words together how disgusting it is. I do know though, I will never in my life step foot in another church because clearly we have all witnessed that God is telling you that he ain't there. God is fucking saying, hey people, I'm not there. I ain't there, people. Like if I am not a big church person, I am not. But if this ain't some sort of a sign that he is telling everybody that we in the wrong place, that we spending our money in the wrong place, we worshiping in the wrong place, we listening to the wrong people.
I am so glad that this is being done because people are waking up to what churches are really about. There are whole churches, whole denominations that are out there that do not believe in helping people outside of their own congregation. And even people in their congregation, there are a lot of stipulations before they can actually get help from the church. A lot of them believe that the church is for the people that go to their church and everyone outside is outside. I was not surprised by the mosque that didn't even ask questions and was just like, what kind of formula do you need? That is a tenet of Islam. Charity is a tenet of Islam. I believe it's called zakat. And it's considered favorable in Islam to give charity and to be charitable. The other one was the Church of God. As soon as I saw it was the Church of God, I said, that pastor's about to pull out his wallet and give us some money. That's just how they roll. My mom used to belong to a church that was a Church of God. And then she was also part of like a Church of God in Christ. They were completely different. And they were really big on charity and giving out food, especially food, formula, diapers, things like that. But those little Southern Baptist churches and fundamentalist churches in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, Kentucky, it's hit or miss. And more than likely, it was a no. That's why that one pastor that said, I have a benevolence fund, but it's only for members, it shocked a lot of people. It didn't shock me, because a lot of denominations believe that the church is only for the people who go there.
Have you guys seen the video of the lady that she's calling the churches and she's telling them that her baby hasn't ate since last night and that she ran out of formula and she has like a crying baby noise on the back, and none of the Christian churches gave her formula? Not one. No one said, come here, we'll go to the store, we'll get your baby some formula for the week. Not one. Not one. Jesus would never, okay? But a Baptist church and a mosque were the ones that were going to give her the formula. And I can bet you if she would have called the Satanic Temple, they would have given her formula. They've been giving out groceries right now to people in need. The Satanic Temple, they worship the devil. But you people, what would Jesus do? Are not giving nobody anything? People can't give this lady a little bit of formula for her baby that's crying? Jesus would never. Ya tú sabe.
When are you guys going to wake up and realize that a lot of the churches you're going to are pyramid schemes? They're money laundering. They're scammers. Your tithing is not going where it should be going. When are you going to wake up and realize that? I know y'all not going to like this one. There is a woman on this app that is doing essentially a social experiment where she's calling different churches in Kentucky of different denominations, saying that she has a hungry baby, playing even baby screaming sounds in the background, saying she has a hungry baby and needs formula, and sees what church is willing to help her. And she's done like almost 30 churches now. You want to know how many churches out of like those 30 churches that have actually been willing to help? 3 churches. 3 churches. A Catholic church, a mosque, and a Baptist church. Always minorities. It's always going to be minorities. Never a white nationalist Christian church. Never will be one of those. But it's just very interesting how y'all are so surprised. This is one of the reasons why I have turned away from religion. Now, would I say I'm still faithful? Yes. Do I believe in God? Yes. But I don't believe in organized religion. I don't. And this is only one of the many reasons. And shout out to the Catholic Church, because I was raised Catholic. Shout out to the Catholic Church. Like, they called back and were trying to help her. So I got to put a shout out to Catholic Church. Even though I may not attend church, that really honestly made me proud. But when are y'all going to wake up? When are you going to wake up? That church is a political pawn now, too, as well. Your churches are becoming a political pawn. And most of these churches are out for your money. They're out for your money, not really to help the needy, not to clothe the poor, not to aid the sickly, not to feed the hungry. Like, wake up, people. This is the times we're in.
So I went down this rabbit hole yesterday and this morning. Have you all seen the video of the woman who is calling churches? She's taking requests from people in her comments to call churches. She has like this recording of a baby playing in the background, and she's basically saying to the church, SNAP benefits have been cut off. I have not fed my child since yesterday. My child is crying. Can you please help me with 1 can of formula? I believe she called about 29 churches. So I was going through the list and just trying to see how many churches she called. And she was calling different churches from different cities, a lot of really large churches who, we know get a lot of donations. You're getting, members are giving you money. You're getting tax write-offs, whatever. Of all of the churches that she called, predominantly Christian, only 3 offered to help her for 1 can of milk. It was 2 Black Christian churches, and I believe it was a mosque. There was one church that immediately said something about, this is Biden's fault. Now, mind you, I just need 1 can of milk. She's like, I'm willing to come over. I'm 2 minutes away. That man said that this is Biden's fault. Another church that she called said that they could only help if she was a member of the church. Now, mind you, there's a baby crying in the background. I was particularly disappointed with the women who answered the phones, because I, regardless of what the church policy is, regardless of whether the church would help or not, I would be like, I'm going to run to Walmart. I'm going to get you a case myself. Come get the milk. So I was just particularly disappointed in the women. A lot of them were making it political. They were peddling her off to other places, saying, well, have you tried this? And she was like, yeah, I called them all. They all said to call the church, so I'm calling the church. But there was one lady who, it was at a Buddhist temple. She was in distress. She really, really wanted to help. But I don't know that she really knew how to help, but I could tell that she really wanted to help. Like, she kept at it and kept at it. There was another church that said, not only are we going to help you, we're going to try to give you resources so that you could help yourself. And, churches need to be on notice, because times are tough right now for a lot of people, and you cannot be a Christian. You can't be a Christian and not help those in need. You can't be. Some churches were asking what religion the person was. Hunger has nothing to do with religion. This baby is crying and hungry. So only the Christian child you will help, or only the Catholic? It was just really shocking and really disappointing. So a lot of other people have jumped on, and I'm interested to see an Atlanta series with our mega churches, because we have a church on every corner. And I am very interested to see what the response from Atlanta would be, because she called a church in Denver, she called a church in Tennessee, like it was just different cities. But I'm really interested to see an Atlanta edition.
So I just watched a pastor's response to the video of the lady who is doing the Lord's work and calling around to all of these cosplaying Christian churches and exposing them for who they really are by basically performing a social experiment to see if they will feed a newborn. And this is a pastor who I would say probably is more along the lines of a progressive sort of pastor. But the thing about performative progressivism is that people really do show who they really are when it comes to how they are going to be impacted by something. And essentially what he said was that the churches are responding the way in which they are responding because they get scammed all the time. Well, vulnerable people get scammed by churches all the time. Vulnerable people get used, their testimonies, their stories, all of that stuff gets used by churches to help promote their mission work and get tithes in. But you know what? You know who doesn't receive any sort of funding or pay for getting up there and talking about how they went through a journey of sobriety and all of those things and how the church helped them? You know who doesn't receive a dime of that money? That person who's standing up there in their own vulnerability, sharing their story. And they're the person that could probably use it the most. So the truth of the matter, the truth that, Pastor Daddy, that you don't want to hear is that churches have no problem taking money from the vulnerable. But when the vulnerable come calling, they close their doors. And the reason you don't want to hear that is because of something called moral injury. Because you think that you can wrap this in some weird little moral God complex and say, look at us, our church has a food pantry. No. The real issue is, why are you all, as Christian leaders, not holding each other accountable? And just because you don't like how the truth sounds because you sound like the bad guy, it doesn't make it less true.
Now that woman was doing that social experiment when she called them churches and sitting up there and said that she needed baby formula, okay? She needed formula, okay, to satiate the dying thirst in her child, okay? It's like a little social experiment to see what the churches will say. And the motherfucking churches, especially the mega churches, were hanging up on her ass. They said, bitch, you want a motherfucking formula? Call Mr. Krabs. That's the only motherfucker that got formula for you. We don't got a damn thing for you. They said that the only motherfuckers that was willing to even help, okay, aside from like a Catholic church and a mosque, was two Black American churches, And even the goddamn Buddhist was willing to help and goddamn give resources and shit and stuff like that. And see, this is what the thing is. Why people be leaving the churches in droves. Because God don't be in them temples. God don't be dwelling in a lot of this. See, a lot of people be treating these facilities like country clubs. You care more of it feeling like a country club than you care about actually being a fucking community. So we got resources for you if you're a member, if you're an active paying member. Bitch, what is this, Sam's Club? This is the Costco. She did a Costco membership. This shit don't make no motherfucking sense to me. And y'all want to sit there talk so God is in y'all motherfucking facilities. Bullshit.
And I watched a couple of videos of that woman that's randomly calling these variations of different churches asking for a formula for a starving infant. And was I surprised of the responses that she got? Absolutely not. Most of the churches that she's called, which she's called plenty, have told her they can't help. And this kind of goes back to the conversation that I had during COVID. If your church was not willing to call you, help you, assist you, send you a prayer here and there during COVID, that was a red flag. I mean, we were in the middle of a pandemic, and the amount of people that said that they didn't hear anything from their churches, because I definitely asked the question here on TikTok. Most people said no, they didn't hear anything. But here we are 5 years later. These same ministries are inviting you to their pastors' anniversaries, their convocations, their variations of different services throughout the week, yet they can't help one infant with formula. Now, I will say there are a couple of ministries that I could suggest here in Orlando that could actually help. But I ain't gonna hold you. I wouldn't mind her actually calling down a list of ministries from Orlando to see if they're actually willing to assist and help.
What the fuck do you mean only 3 of the fucking churches was willing to help the lady out? So this lady in Kentucky has called over 30 churches claiming that she has a newborn baby that's starving and haven't ate all fucking day. And only fucking 3 of the churches was willing to help. It was 2 black churches and a mosque. Those were the only 3 churches that was willing to help this lady out. That is fucking out fucking rages. So you mean to tell me people are out here tithing to this church, getting donations, really tax-free money, and one person, it wasn't even like it was a group of fucking people. She was calling just for one baby, and no one could come together to help. Only three churches out of the fucking 30. That's why church is not what it used to be anymore. And I can say that I'm fucking not surprised, because a lot of these churches is only in it for the money any goddamn ways. But that's some fucked up shit. And it's good to be able to see somebody do an experiment like this to see really what would they do.
Call my church, please call my church, because I need to know. As someone who attends church regularly and we tithe, I need to see what their response is going to be. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a lady on TikTok. She's been calling churches all over and seeing if they will help her get baby formula. And most of them said no. Out of like 30 churches, 4 or 5 of them said yes. Churches have tax breaks. They have tax incentives. They get tithes and offerings. They're supposed to support the community, whether the people that need support attend their church and tithe or not. I tagged her below. Go scroll through her videos and see, and let me know what you think. If you've seen it, let me know what you think in the comments, because I'm really disturbed by this as someone who is Christian and who attends church and tithes.
The thing about this woman who's calling the churches and exposing their hypocrisy for not giving her baby a can of formula isn't just that she's exposing the churches. She's exposing the people in the comments who at another time would be the type to claim that, well, the reason I don't give money to an unhoused person is because they might use it on booze, they might use it on drugs, for something that they don't deem appropriate. This woman, in their mind, is the perfect person who needs charity for her child who is crying and hasn't had any type of formula. And yet there's still some of them in the comments defending, God helps those who help themselves, whatever nonsense people spew about that. But it really exposes not just the churches, but the people, because the fact is that baby isn't making any decisions. The baby is just hungry. And if you don't have compassion for that, that's something to really think about. And also, I got rid of that whole notion of that you have to care, that I would care what someone spent money on if I was giving it to an unhoused person. decades ago when here in Los Angeles, I was in touch with, he was an adult at the time, but he said that as a teenager, he was homeless. And that sometimes he did spend the money on booze because it was so cold. Even here in Los Angeles, it can get down to freezing. He was sleeping on cold pavement. He's like, sometimes I needed to drink enough that it helped me stay warm. It was the only way I was going to fall asleep was to pass out because I was so cold. And I just was like, you know what? I don't know what that is like. God, by the grace of God, I don't know what that's like. And if I did know what it was like, I'd probably drink too. And I would hope someone would give me money to get through it if they aren't going to offer me any real help solutions like housing. If I don't have those options, then I just want whatever is going to help me get through that awful time. So anyway, something to think about.
That's my masjid. That's the masjid that I grew up in. That mosque that was willing to give the baby formula to the child in need. I am a product of the knowledge that has been instilled in me by the scholars and the sheikhs at ICC, Charlotte. Sheikh Bassam, who's from Lebanon, Sheikh Abdul Zahir, who's from Somalia, Sheikh Abu Bakr, Sheikh Abdul Ghaffar, who are also Somali. They taught me so much about being a person that Allah or God is proud of. They've taught me the deen, the Quran, how to carry myself as a human being, to love for others what you love for yourself. They were the epitome of, the deen. When I saw how they interacted with each other, when I saw how they led the community, that inspired me as well. So whenever you see me talking about the deen, it's because that is my masjid. And I'm so proud. I'm so proud of that. Out of every church that was called, finally, ICC Charlotte was called, and they did not fail that test. And that is what Islam is. Islam is to give to others, even if we don't share the same belief. We are humans first. So I just wanted to shout out my shuyukh. I had those 4 scholars teach me the Quran, Islamic studies, the deen. I had Sister Naima. I cannot forget Sister Naima. Sister Iman, who's Palestinian. They taught me Arabic, I had the best teachers. I'm just putting it out there. I'm so proud of my masjid. So proud of my masjid. It was so beautiful to see out of every single religious institution that was called, it was ICC that answered. And, I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm so happy that people are finally seeing that Muslims are not your enemy. Islam has never been your enemy. Islam is meant to better you as a person. It literally teaches you discipline, it makes you want to work to become a better person before you meet your creator, So I just wanted to put that out there.
The church is more interested in putting on a show and stealing your money, especially the black church, instead of teaching what the Bible says.
He was a wildly charismatic, successful, fire and brimstone preacher who warned about hell.
You had to get them jumping and screaming and clapping and saying amen and crying, to get them to come to the altar, to get them to get saved.
He knew exactly how to inspire, how to work up a crowd.
But if you don't perform in that pulpit, you're a dead man.
How good are you at that?
I'm good. I'm one of the best of them.
Looking at Pew Report, most black Americans are Protestants. While a majority are American-born, 12% hail from sub-Saharan Africa and 11% are from the Caribbean. Africans were practicing Christianity long before they were forced to learn the European version of Christianity. The foundation of European version of Christianity taught in the black community has been rotten from the beginning. The history of the black church is one of resilience in the face of systemic racism, but it has also perpetuated certain ideologies and practices. The Christian faith occupies a complicated, often racialized place in the history of black people all over the globe because of how it was abused by white colonists and slave traders to subjugate black people. Christianity was a double-edged sword for African Americans. On one hand, white Europeans wanted to use Christianity to make slaves docile and obedient. On the other hand, Africans adapted Christianity for their survival and liberation. The role of Christianity in shaping societal beliefs and narratives cannot be understated, especially when considering its influence on the portrayal of religious figures and the dissemination of information. When I delved into the reasons behind the release of Black Jesus icons or the Pope's prayers to the Black Madonna, I kept seeing the history of whitewashing in religious imagery. The depiction of Jesus and other religious figures as white has deep roots in European art and colonialism. perpetuating a narrow and often inaccurate representation that has had significant social and psychological effects. The reclaiming of these icons, like Black Jesus, can be seen as an effort to challenge these dominant narratives with religious imagery. Throughout the centuries, Christianity has indeed been used to justify various forms of oppression, from the subjugation of indigenous peoples to the support of slavery. The failure of the church to always uphold truth can be seen in these historical injustices. Great majority of these Black ministers of the cloth have been preaching what these white supremacist seminary schools told them to preach. I mean, really? There was a time during slavery when the enslaved people weren't allowed to read, period, let alone being able to read from the Bible. And when they were allowed, they had to read from the slave Bible. The influence of seminaries and theological training on religious leaders is a significant problem. The doctrines taught in these institutions often shape what is preached from the pulpit, and historically, many of these seminaries were indeed aligned with white supremacist ideologies. This has had a lasting impact on the messages conveyed to white, Black congregations and the ways in which Christianity has been used to justify discrimination and inequality. Too many of these so-called Black ministers over the years have been doing a great disservice to the Black community. Most of these ministers are too afraid to rock the boat, telling the truth about the Bible being Black history. Then the rest are too busy pimping the congregation of their money or don't care to know the truth. The Black church needs ministers who are willing to teach the whole truth of the Bible.
And so that's the reason why so many people down through the years, and especially we see it in great numbers in our time, have been leaving Christianity, especially people of color, because they're saying that Christianity is the slave owners' white man's religion, and it got that reputation by the church as a body in total. That's not to say that there have not been genuine individuals down through history who spoke out. But you need more than one person to speak out. You need the whole church to get in line with the program in a positive way. Instead of that, they condoned it, and so then a lot of people are leaving Christianity or don't want to have anything to do with Christianity because they call it the slave owner's religion.
Years ago, I recall reading an interesting book by Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil, where the devil talks about how the church has done a great job of helping the devil. In the book, the devil makes a striking observation about the church. The devil states, "The church has done a good job of not allowing Christians to think or question religious doctrines." I totally agree. Throughout the years, the church hierarchy has definitely enforced strict obedience and discouraged people from critical thinking or questioning of religious doctrines. This suppression of independent thought has contributed to a sense of docility and acceptance of one's circumstances, rather than challenging the status quo. But the good thing about the day and time we are currently living in, there is a lot more access to information. People that choose to know the truth can find it, if they are willing to do the work. Hope you find the information in this video informative. Feel free to like, subscribe, click on our membership button, and join, share, and comment. Thanks for watching.